Is Royal Caribbean's food really that good? These are my top 5 recommendations of restaurants on board Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. So I'd say that the first item here is Windjammer, which is the buffet offering. You've got quite a lot of good options. It's quite varied. So you have your burgers, your hot dogs. You normally have some stews. There's normally a carvery with chicken or turkey or beef or ham or something like that on it. There's a selection of salads, some cheeses. Normally a soup selection. There's normally some steak and some chicken, some vegetarian options. What I quite like is that they cater for gluten-free, so you'll have a gluten-free section as well. The food generally is pretty good quality. It's normally freshly cooked, although a lot of food is frozen, so you can tell which things are and which aren't. I'd say that my least favourite part of the buffet is probably the desserts. There's a lot of cakes, so lots of things like tiramisu and key lime pie, lots of like tarts and kind of pots of like gelato, that kind of stuff. But a lot of it's very sugary. It doesn't have a lot of flavour to it. It's not really my style. It's not really something that I'd go for. But the Windjammer's a solid food destination, one that a lot of people go to. If you hit it at the right time, you can normally go in there when it's quite quiet. So I'd normally say that on a port day, it's very busy in the morning, just because people are going in there before they head off to their port destination, and then normally it quietens right down and it's very, very quiet throughout most of the day. On sea days, it's normally busy most of the time, but if you hit it late morning and then early evening, you're going to find it's pretty good. So then in terms of drinks there, they do things like fruit punches and water. They have coffee, hot water for tea. They've got tea bags. So there's plenty of options. There's a paid bar as well if you fancy a glass of wine or something alcoholic, or even a specialty coffee. So it tries to cater for everyone. Service is very good. The people that are serving there are very friendly, normally cleaning up tables quite quickly. You're almost always going to get a table, as long as you can be flexible where you sit. You just have to walk around. So next we went to Giovannis, which is the Italian restaurant on board Royal Caribbean ships. It used to be called Jamie's Italian, and then they rebranded it across a lot of them. So we went here. It's actually the first time across all of the cruises I've done that I've actually been to a Giovanni's. I'm not against going to Italian places, but you tend to find that it's quite poor value for money versus things like Chopped Grill, particularly if you're a meat eater. It's a lot of carbs, there's a lot of bread, a lot of pasta, and it doesn't tend to be an awful lot more than that. So we've not really done them before, but we did it this time. We thought we'd try it out. It's a different ambience there, different atmosphere, and we thought why not give it a try. The food was pretty good. The service was slightly weird. It was pretty quiet. I'd say 50% full. Actually, where we were sitting at the back, so the table behind us, we were sitting at the back of the restaurant, was a table full of all of the senior officers. So they're all kind of uniformed up, all sitting quietly in the corner, which kind of changed the vibe a little bit. It made it a little bit more subdued there. People were quieter than I think they probably would have been otherwise. Food-wise, I actually ended up having the steak for the main course. It's pretty good. I mean, it was cooked well. It had some nice accompaniments with it. But would I have it again? Yeah. Would I have it there? Probably not. I'd say the service was just a bit lacking. It was... we had one server who was, he tried his hardest, but I think he was pretty overloaded with the work. There were probably, 7 or 8 tables around him that he was serving. So I think he was struggling a little bit with the load. We were a table of 6, and we weren't in a rush for our food. But I think overall the whole table service probably took about, an hour and a half, an hour and 45. We ordered some cocktails. It took probably 20 minutes, half an hour for them to turn up. It's not the end of the world. But again, we paid... a cover charge for this restaurant, so you kind of expect more than just the standard service. So number 3 for me is Chopped Grill. So Chopped Grill on board Royal Caribbean ships is the steak restaurant, and it's on this one at the back of the ship. It's actually inside the Windjammer, the buffet restaurant. And as you walk through the entrance, on one side, directly to your left, you've got Chopped Grill, and then on the other side to your right, you have Giovanni's, so they're completely opposite each other. But Chopped Grill is the same menu across every cruise ship that we've done with Royal, and we've been cruising with Royal since 2015, so nearly 10 years now. Exactly the same menu that we've had for as many years as I can remember. But I had the bacon joint for starter. Did I like it? Not really. I've had it many times before. It's very fatty. I would say that probably only 25% of it is actually meat and edible. It's covered in a glaze, so it kind of gives it a bit of a kick, but it's it's pretty fatty. It's pretty inedible, most of it. Then I had the fillet steak, which is always my go-to. I always have it cooked medium. And was it good? It was all right. I mean, I've had better steaks in the past. It was tasty. I had the bordelaise sauce with it. I had kind of some of the sides, so like the mashed potato, some asparagus. It was good. It took a while to turn up, but it was okay. I give it kind of a 3 out of 5. And then I ended up with a key lime pie for dessert, and it was fine, but it was the same sort of pudding you would find in the Windjammer. Nothing particularly exciting about it. Certainly not something that I think we were worth paying for. So the cover charge here was £60 per person, which is actually quite a lot of money when you consider, you're paying that on top of what you would if you were going just to a normal restaurant across the ship, such as the main dining room, for instance. It was fine, but would I recommend it? Probably not. And to be honest with you, we've done Chops Grill a number of times now, and I think unless they happen to change their menu, I probably wouldn't go back. It was just fine. It was fine. The service there was also lacking again. It took the whole service about 2 hours. It took about 40 minutes before they took our first order, and then to deliver the food after the starter, we were waiting probably about 1 hour and 10 before we got served. A lot of the tables around us were dirty. There was no one on them. People had left. It was about 8:30 in the evening, and it was pretty quiet. And then I'd say at the end of the service, we left at about 9:15, and there was only one table that actually had anyone on it. The whole rest of the place was completely empty. So it shows you kind of the popularity of the restaurant. And this was on a sea day, which typically tends to be slightly busier than most others. But it was okay. So this one is Playmakers. Playmakers is a new kind of sports bar restaurant inside the middle of the Freedom of the Seas. So it's right behind Bolero's, which is the Latin bar entertainment space, and it's actually a really cool space. We've been to it on a number of other Royal Caribbean ships. It's on everything that's been amplified, which is the refit, and it's on anything that's newer than, I'd say, kind of 2015, 16. And it's a great addition, I think, to the space. It's a lot more casual. You've got video screens playing football games and all kinds of sports around the world, mainly US sports, playing everywhere inside the space. You've got things like pool tables as well. There are casino machines. It backs onto the casino as well. So it's quite a noisy space, but it's for the whole family. And the food there is fantastic. You have to pay extra for it, and it's a la carte, so you're paying per dish, but I would highly recommend going there. So we had the wings, and we had the onion rings, and we had a chicken burger each, and it was covered in buffalo sauce, and it had things like spicy pickles. It was such a good meal, and the food has been clearly cooked to order. It's really tasty, perfect sizes. It's not too much food. We did order more than we needed to, and we also had some really good beer as well. So they specialise in quite a lot of good draft beers as well. We had some fantastic food, and I'd highly recommend it. I mean, it wasn't an awful lot of money. I think for both of us, it was about $70. But yeah, I would definitely recommend going to Playmakers. So number 5, and I'd say my favourite, would be the main dining room. I have done the main dining room in other Royal Caribbean ships. The vibe was slightly different this time around. So there was a group of 6 of us, and we were seated on the same table every day. So you can choose 2 different options with main dining room and Royal. If you haven't already done it, you can do my time dining, where you can pick a time, you can book a table, and then you can rock up at that time, and they will always accommodate you. They've always got a table reserved for you for that time slot that you've chosen, or you can do a set timing. So you can either do, I think, 6 or 8 p.m. are the two different sittings, and then they will place you on the table every time in the one that you've chosen. If you don't have a table reserved, they will find you one. You'll normally have to queue for quite a while, or line up rather, and they'll always do their best. They're very well coordinated, so you've got your maitre d's kind of making sure that everyone, is kind of moving about and making sure that they can accommodate everyone as quickly as possible. And then we had two servers who were incredible. So we had May and we had Jen, and they were both really friendly, really accommodating, very attentive. They knew exactly what they were talking about, and they were really, really personable. So, for the 6 of us, they were making sure that they, were having nice little chats with everyone in the group, and they were very funny and just very easy and very professional, and yeah, brilliant. And I think that probably makes up quite a lot of the whole the whole experience for us. We were going to a lot of restaurants across different nights. Most of them we were paying for. The main dining room was one that we didn't. It's included in the price, and I would say it's slightly underrated. I think Royal Caribbean's food gets quite a bashing quite a lot, and I can see why. We've done a lot of celebrity cruises as well. The food is better with celebrity than it is with Royal, without a doubt. But I would say that Royal, what they're very good at excelling at is things like service and consistency. And I think what might sometimes sting them a little bit is the repetition. So if you've done Royal Caribbean cruises before, you are going to see things like the same meals being rolled out for the same night. So the 4 more nights that you have, you're going to see similar things. They have a lobster night, which everyone that's done one knows exactly what it's like. They always do a night where they do lamb. They have classics on the menu as well. So they've got lots of steak on their New York strip. They do tenderloin. I had steak almost every night that I was on it. But again, pretty good. I mean, not kind of, 5-star, but, definitely good. Definitely worth having. I had a lot of different varied starters. So we had the crab cake, which was pretty good. And I had lots of soups, particularly the French onion soup, which they're pretty good at. And then, lots of steak, lots of chicken. A lot of the people around me were having similar food. It was good food. But I think that the service probably made it my favourite. And then again, the ambience of the space as well makes a big difference. It's quite a bright, airy, friendly space. It's quite impressive. It's got a big chandelier, as you can see in the photo. And the staff there on the last night, they do a little parade through the space for all of the crew and all of the other guests. So I'd say my final conclusion on it, on Freedom of the Seas, there were some good venues available. I think I'd suggest that you go to the cruise planner and look at the cost of each of the individual meals, and then the cost of the dining packages. So they'll always do a 3-night dining package and unlimited as well. If you are staying in, I think, like a really high level suite, like Star Class on some of the newer ones, you get the unlimited dining included. But otherwise, I would personally suggest that you don't go ahead and order the dining packages. I just don't think that they're worth it. I think what Royal was very good at is, particularly across things like the main dining room, they're very good with service. It's always very consistent, at least in my experience it is. And the food tends to be pretty good. If you feel that you want something a bit different, you can actually look at the menu, and you'll see that there's an additional supplement for chopped grilled steaks. So if you wanted to try the ambience of the MDR, but you also wanted a chopped grilled steak because you were, trying something new for one night, you could do it that way. It'd actually work out cheaper than it would if you were going to Chops Grill, because you're only paying for that singular item. And yeah, I think that the paid for options are good if you're bored of the food in the main dining room, but there are lots of different options in there, lots of variety. And remember that a lot of the food menus that you have in the pay for restaurants are also just the same thing. They're it's very repetitive. If you've done multiple of them, you're gonna have the same food. If you go, 2 or 3 times back to Chops Grill or any of the others like Hibachi, you're gonna find that it's exactly the same food every night. So just bear that in mind when you're thinking about it. Anyway, I hope that helps, and please, if you can, subscribe and like my channel.